Hello and welcome to the first of 4 sessions that I'm going to be delivering for West Sussex Mind on the topic of self-harm and online safety. My name is Rachel Nahum and I am a freelance trainer, and today I am this for West Sussex Mind, and it has been funded through West Sussex County Council. And yeah, as I said, there's going to be 4 different sessions, and there is also a PDF on the same web page, and that PDF will have all the links that I discuss in this session. So you're welcome to take notes, obviously, but this PDF will have all of the links, and you're welcome to share the PDF as well as these videos widely with people who might find it useful. Okay, so just to start, I want to just give a safety warning. We are going to be talking about self-harm and mental health issues, and these can be triggering for people. Triggers are often unpredictable and deeply personal, and we want you to stay well. When I deliver this session live and we have breakout rooms, I always say to people, be really careful what you share with each other around self-harm, and we want to make sure that practitioners are not triggered, protect practitioners, not activators. So I always say, don't share graphic details of your experience. It's much more useful if we share solutions or tried solutions that might not have worked. That's much more useful than sharing anything else. Okay, so as we get started into this session, I want to just talk about the definition of self-harm. And when I was researching for this presentation, I looked at it all, and actually the information on Mind website is absolutely fantastic. So I am just going to share from that website, and we're just going to go through it together. Okay, so you will have heard about Mind. That's how you're on the website now. There is a wealth of information on Mind website. The easiest way is just to search self-harm. Okay, so there's lots of information on here around self-harm, and I want to say, so yeah, lots of information here. There's quite a lot of people who come to this training, quite a lot of people who want information about how to support children and young people and support for the parents. So I'm going to share today from the under 18 section, because I think that the way is equal for all. So if you look on here, okay. So as I said, when I was researching this session, and I thought about trying to write all the definitions about it, on my website, I think it is brilliant. It's regularly updated and there's lots of information. So here and you could tell the way that it's written, it's co-produced by young people. I would feel very, very comfortable looking at this website with a child next to me or a young person next to me who is self-harming or has experience of self-harm. So the way that it's written is non-judgmental, and the solutions I think are really clever. So on here it's got kind of, we all experience difficult feelings at some point in our life and cope in different ways. Some of us may use self-harm to cope or think about doing this. Self-harm can affect us all in lots of different ways, but we're here to help, and you'll see that as you go through, it's just written like that, and you'll go through it. I'm not going to read it all, so yeah. Again, it's got the warning on here. This page may cause difficult feelings. It's got lots here of the signposting. So some of these that you will recognise, the shout, the child line, and 999 as well. So there we go. It's got on here what is self-harm and some truths and falses that can be really, really useful. So only girls self-harm. I've heard that recently, actually. I think it must be something that young people are saying to each other. Younger children don't self-harm. Years ago, we were involved in doing some parent carer sessions, and they were aimed at primary school children. Yeah, people only self-harm to get attention. We'll just have a quick look at this. yeah, as I said, the way that it's written is really co-produced by a child. Some of us may hide that we self-harm, some of us might not. Our self-harm may not be visible, or we might not even know that we're self-harming. So I think can bring attention. Yeah, again, yeah, just lots on there. Remember, you deserve help and support. It's just, I say, really supportively written in an empowering way. Here, and this is particularly useful for children and young people. Why might I self-harm? So sometimes it can be really confusing, and just the way that this is written, again, I just found really, really powerful. We might use self-harm to deal with something difficult in our lives. Sometimes we might not know why we hurt ourselves. And again, that's just allowing children and young people to be confused. They might not understand what is happening as well. And then there's lots of different lists on here. And as you're working with children and young people, they might see themselves in some of this list. And some quotes as well. Some young people we spoke to said that they self-harm because they were trying to show how they feel without speaking, distract themselves, cope, feel more in control, punish themselves, stop feeling disconnected, create a reason to look after themselves. And then it is sometimes linked to managing thoughts of suicide, but it's not always. Lots of triggers in there. Yeah, again, if you don't understand why you're self-harming, that's okay. You're not alone. You can still get help. Lots around discrimination. And then here, it's got some stuff around how do you tell someone if I've self-harmed. So it's got professionals that you can speak to, and then it's also got signposting, the mix and childline that we are going to talk about in the signposting section. And then just some real great advice before telling someone you self-harmed. You could speak to somebody, and I think this is particularly useful. Sometimes young people find themselves in a role where they're like a counsellor to their friends, and I think this is actually they could by telling all young people this web page exists, that you will be able to help them to help each other. Starting the conversation, talking about self-harm. Yeah, what if they don't understand? Remember, you deserve support. And then on here, it's got lots around how you treat the self-harm scars. And again, when we're doing those parent sessions, those peer group sessions, that was one of the key things that parent carers were just saying about how they support each other and what they keep in their house in terms of helping children and young people heal after self-harm. What is a relapse? How to cope with self-harm? Yeah, on there, and regularly updated. So that was updated last year. So yeah, really useful website. I will just do a Young Minds as well. Young Minds is written for young people, and the advice and guidance on the Young Minds website is as good as everything on Mind. Okay. So as we just finish off this first section, I want to just explain two of the theories of online safety and how this links to self-harm and support online. So there are 5 themes of online safety. The first 3, contact, content and conduct, were devised by Tanya Byron in 2005 in her report Safer Children in the Digital World, so many years ago. And the last 2, commercial and overuse, were invented in my role at Impact Safety Net. Now, these themes of online safety, if you're doing sustained work with children and young people, I always say that the online safety message, the online harms message, if we can give these messages to children and young people a little message often, it's far more impactful, far more powerful than if we say, right, we're doing online safety this week at school, and then you tick all the boxes, or you've just been on a course and you say, right, we're going to talk around online safety, and you think, brilliant, that's my job done. And these themes help us to simplify the online safety message. So sometimes us as adults overcomplicate this message when we're speaking to children and young people. So it might be that we start off and we're talking around bringing it into self-harm, we're talking about who they're speaking to, who might be encouraging them to do it. Then we might be talking around that you're on their phones too much. Then we might be talking about kind of the behaviour online and what people are up to. And then we might be talking about sites where people are sharing some of the self-harm content and sharing those scars. It's far too much information for a child or young person to grasp and think about what they're up to. So if we were thinking around self-harm, we might want to have a conversation one day around how we all can limit and restrict our use online. You know, are we all using technology too much? What does it look like if we are limiting some of that use? The next day we might talk around contact. Who are you interacting with? Who's really, really supportive? Where are you going for advice and guidance online? And some of that in the signposting, we've got our traditional places. And when I speak to young people, they might be going somewhere else for advice and guidance. It might be a really fantastic person on TikTok, and it might be that they follow young minds on Instagram. It might be that they are getting something from Safer Internet Day on Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat. So just that, thinking around those themes, rather than the online world is really risky and that's where you're going to find lots of danger, thinking about a different way. Who are you interacting with which is useful? Where are you getting mental health support? Who do you find who can be really helpful? Then, so that might be one day. The next day we might think around the content. How can we interrupt some of the content that you are getting? And one of the ways, I've just been doing loads of work with foster carers, and one of the ways with foster carers we were talking about, they were really feeling that their child was being bombarded by negative content, and we talked about it, and it was on, lots of it was on TikTok, and we were talking about how can we interrupt that, and the solution that we came up with, which, you know, was successful, partway successful, was that the foster carer downloaded TikTok, and every day they sent a funny video. So whether it was, I think they were into cat videos or something else, I think, yeah. And they followed that. And then the young person had to send back a different funny video. And they were just saying that they know at least twice a day they are seeing something positive, one that they send and one that they are sending to them. And so that's two lots of positive contact. And then what happens is the algorithms are so tight that because you are sharing funny videos, you get bombarded by funnier videos. So just that kind of thinking around that. Then the contact side of it, how are we behaving online? How do we behave when screens are turned off? So it might be that we think around, right, how do you feel when you spent a lot of time online? What might we need to be different? And that might be the question one day. And then the commercial side of it, the pop-ups, you know, what do you think we could do to keep the internet safer for other people? So those 5 themes of online safety. And in the final bit of the final webinar today, we are thinking around, you know, how we are role modeling offline and also online, and we'll have a look at some of these again. And lastly, this is the last bit for this webinar, is thinking about the digital resilience framework. So the digital resilience framework, again, this link will be on the PDF. It's a dynamic personality asset that grows through digital activation, through engaging through appropriate opportunities and challenging online rather than through avoidance. And this is in 4 different sections. So an individual understands when they're at risk. Have we had enough conversations with them so they know when they're at risk, when something is risky that they are looking at, or somebody that they are communicating with? The next space is the individual knows where to seek help from a range of services and sources, and that's what we're going to do in the next session. It's all about signposting and all about useful websites. Then learn, so an individual learns from their experiences and is able to adapt their future choices where possible. So really with that, it's, you know, children and young people are allowed to make mistakes online and then change their behaviour in the future like they are doing in real life. So how are we supporting children and young people to make a mistake online, and then we support them and they understand the risks, they know what to do, and they've learned from that. And the last part of digital building digital resilience is an individual recovers when things go wrong. So how are we supporting them? Are we doing a trauma-informed response? How are we supporting them to make a full recovery after they might have made a mistake online? Okay, see you for part 2 for the signposting and parental controls.